Hey guys, so recently I have been reading some romance novels like Lauren Lane's newest one, where I go in with tons of expectations and I'm like, I need this book to be really, really good. And then, it doesn't do that so much. And that was the last review that I brought you guys. And today I have a book for you that was the exact opposite. I went into it really honestly not even wanting to read it, and I'll tell you why, but I am so glad I did because it is the cutest book. Like, I swear, I cannot believe this book was so cute and so wonderful, and great discussions of trauma and mental health and friend groups that are amazing and really sweet. Adult, and I mean mature by that. Like, we are being mature adults. It is a romance novel, so I mean there's that, but I just mean, like, okay, let me back it up and let me tell you about this. So I have today a ARC review for you of Lease on Love by Fallon Ballard. Thank you to Edelweiss and the publisher for allowing me a copy of this book for my free and honest review. And this is the story of Sadie Green. And Sadie Green has, for the last 6 years, been putting in her time as a financial analyst, getting ready for this big promotion that finally, for the first time in her life, is going to make her financially independent. Like, she's going to be able to pay off her loans, life is going to be perfect. And it doesn't go the way she planned. The day that she thinks she's going to finally get this big promotion, her jackhole of a boss says, and we are so happy that Sadie, for no extra financial compensation, will be training our new head of financial whatever, who happens to be his brand new son-in-law. So of course, Sadie sees the sexism, the nepotism, and for the first time in 6 years, she loses her mind, drops an F-bomb and some truth, and gets fired. So Sadie suddenly finds herself living in an apartment in New York with a lease that is about to expire that she can't afford, and no job, no prospects really. So she decides in a drunken stupor she's gonna hook up, she's gonna, live her best life, and so she gets out a hookup app. So the next day, sober Sadie remembers that she said she was gonna meet this guy for coffee, and she's like, ugh, I don't want to do this, but she goes and she's looking at this guy, and he's wearing, like a gamer tee, scruffy hair, like total nerd, whose name is Jack. And she's like, I don't get why I came here to date you. And he pulls out like this application, he's asking all these things about her. Turns out Sadie accidentally opened a roommates app, not a dating app. So she thinks she's there for a date, he thinks he's there for a roommate. Awkwardness ensues. Come to find out, Jack is very independently wealthy and has this brownstone in New York that is absolutely to die for, and he's willing to let Sadie live there for a pittance, which means that she can go get, a bartending job and work out her dreams of doing a sustainable floral arranging business while living with Jack. Sadie also has a wonderful set of friends who are totally integral to this story. Sadie is larger than life. She is a fantastic character. And I think what is really, really incredible about Sadie is that she's the kind of character where I think normally you might think, oh gosh, this chick is just so much. But Sadie is just vibrant, she dresses crazy, she is loud, she's just like living life, and her friends have their own personalities, but they're very much the same way. And Jack, he's living in his basement man cave, he plays video games, he watches movies, and so initially their personalities just absolutely clash. And again, Sadie as this larger than life character, I think to a reader could also be really easy to hate, but you start to get this sense instantly that Sadie thinks that she's too much. But she's trying to be confident in herself and the way that she acts, but she says some things and you start to realize, I think there's some drama here that is kind of affecting her personality. Jack, on the other hand, This is a little bit more difficult to unpack because this is a single POV book. You only ever get Sadie. So Jack is a little bit of a tougher nut to crack, but he starts to come alive really around Sadie and her friends. But of course, he is the cutest around Sadie, and they bond over, you know, TV marathons and Jack trying to help her live out her dreams, even when he says, well, my dreams are dead, so yours might as well live, which is super emo. But you also realize, hey, Jack has some trauma to unpack as well. I told you guys that I wasn't really interested in reading this book, and it was because in the blurb, which I know was supposed to sell you on a book, but it said the beach read meets the Flatshare. I've never read the beach read, which I believe is by Emily Henry, but I have read the Flatshare by Beth O'Leary, and I loved the Flatshare. And when I heard about the premise of this book, I thought that it was just going to be like discount the Flatshare. And since the Flatshare was already great and it had the gimmick of them kind of forming a relationship through post-it notes, which this didn't seem to have, I thought, well, I don't get why I would read Lease on Love if I could just go read the Flatshare, which is an amazing book. But what is amazing about this book is, like I said, the mature adult space it gives both of our characters to grow together. The romance bit, like the sexy, spicy, romance bit, doesn't come till very near the end. So if you want like a spicy, sexy book, this may not be the one that you're looking for, because it's just so invested in saying, okay, Sadie has some emotional trauma she has to deal with, and so does Jack. Jack's is a little bit more recent than Sadie's, but they both are affecting their lives in negative ways, and they both recognize that if they don't work on that, they can be a fairly toxic person to be in a relationship with. And from the beginning, they have this understanding that I really, really want to be with you, but I really don't want to hurt you. And they take the time, and again, this is all on the page, to work on themselves and work on their own dreams and basically say, I want to get to a point where I feel like, steady and sturdy in myself and what I'm doing before I can let you in. As opposed to a romance novel that might say, well, all of our problems will be fixed once we bang, which is a very common way to fix these problems, apparently, in romance novels. I also love a romance novel with extra layers outside of what the main pairing is dealing with, and there is some very cute sub-storylines dealing with Sadie's friends, and I could very well see one of them getting their own spin-off book, but they weren't there. In some romance novels, like, these characters are shoehorned in literally to say, and, coming soon, the next book in this series. But these characters really are there to facilitate, Sadie and her growth, but also to add Jack to their friend circle and help facilitate his. Again, his happening much more off screen because we don't get his point of view, just Sadie's. But I loved the friends storyline, and again, I loved that in this book, the two characters say at some point, like, hey, you hurt me, and I know that you didn't mean necessarily what you said, but just because you didn't mean it doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. I hate romance novels where, in anger, someone says something and then they're immediately forgiven. Like, just because someone didn't mean to be hurtful doesn't mean that those words don't hurt. And you have to, again, kind of take stock of yourself and make sure, like, hey, am I okay? Before being like, oh, no, it's okay. Like, I get that you're upset, but, like, it's fine that you hurt me or whatever. So I am so sorry that I called this book a discount the Flatshare. I do think that this book and the Flatshare are similar enough that if you loved the Flatshare, you will love this book. But they're definitely different enough and have enough on their own to be two beautiful and wonderful books that stand on their own really strongly. I loved Lease on Love. I think it was so sweet, such a sweet, slow burn romance about just a true building of a relationship and a building of really a found family, discussions of trauma, mental health, death, and grieving, and just how things from our childhood can come back to get us, or things that have happened more recently, can also just really impact our lives for years to come. And being willing to work through that to find each other. It was just really sweet and I loved it. So this book is not out quite yet, but it will be soon. So get it from your local library, get it from your local bookstore, however it is. I really, really loved this book and I hope that you do too. So if you can think of any other recommendations, such as the Flatshare or this book, that have really, really sweet, slow burn romances in them, do me a favor, drop them in the comments. If you have read this book, you're going to read it, come back, let me know what you thought. Whatever it is, this one, I had no expectations and it knocked it out of the park. So, thanks guys. Bye.